The joys of parenthood. My 3-year-old refuses to eat meat. And I have a dinner plan for this weekend that's nothing but meat-centric. So I have to have an alternative for her, something quick and easy. And nothing is easier than spaghetti in the Instant Pot. It's one pot, it's, one dish to clean, it's easy. So we're gonna do that for you, other mothers out there that need sanity. My child got a melodica for Christmas. You hear that? Yeah, I do too. Anyway, here's spaghetti. Super easy. All you're gonna need is a pound to a pound and a half of ground meat. I'm using venison, but you can easily use beef. This is actually a beef recipe, but nobody knows the difference, like seriously. So anyway, you need a jar of whatever sauce you like. I like the tomato basil from Bertolli. It's your call. And I use a jar of diced tomatoes, and then I use Italian seasoning and a little bit of garlic and a little bit of onion. And then you need a pound of dry noodles, which I've already got there. But the deal is that you basically just make the spaghetti meat the way that you like it. So however you would normally make your meat in a skillet on the stovetop is the same thing. Like literally, you just make it on this hot plate instead. So what you're gonna do is to turn on your saute function. I just saute it on high, so I just start it up. Saute it on high. I already put in a couple of teaspoons of olive oil, and I've got my frozen onion in there because I always keep onion in the freezer. But just, I would say I always do maybe like a half of an onion diced in my spaghetti. But this part of the recipe, seriously, you can make this however you make your spaghetti on your stovetop, okay? However you like it on your stovetop is the way that you can make it here. So I'm gonna let that heat up, and then I'm gonna add my meat to brown. Okay, you want your onions to get, opaque. And then once I see that start to happen, I throw in about a clove of minced garlic. About 1 clove is what I like. You can, again, make this however you like your spaghetti sauce to be made. This is just my go-to in a hurry spaghetti sauce. All right, now it's time to add in my meat. Again, this is meant for beef, but I'm using venison because they are interchangeable. And venison is a lot crumblier and wetter than beef, so I'm just going to use my hands to do this. But just take just a second. I'm going to get all my meat in there. I got all my venison crumbled in there. When we have our meat processed, and even when we do it ourselves, so we usually do like an 80-20 mix. But you can use whatever ground beef you want. This is probably not going to have that much to drain after it gets browned as compared to a really fatty beef. So that's probably the only difference. But it's so crumbly that I do it by hand. Beef is often not that crumbly. I highly recommend one of these little fancy little thingies. Somebody gave me this a few years ago, and every time I've used this for beef dishes, it saves my hands. I have arthritis in my hands, so this saves my fingers. I love that. Anyway, just a little something. Anyway, we're gonna brown this up. I'm gonna let this go for just a minute. Start getting it brown and see if I need to drain any of the liquid off of it. I'll show you my hack for draining. Okay, my meat's pretty brown. What I'm gonna do is, because I don't want to have to take this pot out and have to deal with that, I kind of tip my liner just ever so slightly. You're really not supposed to do this, but I kind of tip it a little bit and make the water kind of drain out to the side that I pushed. And then I use, it's so fancy, I use a paper towel. I just blot it up. Sometimes it takes 2 of these. This doesn't have a lot of fat in it, but it does have a lot of liquid where it was frozen. So, I'm just going to drain that sucker up. Okay. And 1 more. No big. I got 1 ready. I've got 1 at the ready. This is harder to do when you're holding the camera, just FYI. Why my cameras and these are so awful. I need to find me a tripod or something. I'm gonna keep doing this. Anyway, and then I just reach in here and throw this mamma jam away. Nice and dry in there. This is where I add my seasoning. I just use Italian seasoning. You can, again, do however you want. You know, I don't know how much I use. I use a generous amount. I stir it all in there. So onions, garlic, and Italian seasoning are my go-tos for quick spaghetti. All right, this is ready, okay? This is absolutely ready. So I'm gonna cancel this. Cancel this. I'm gonna scrape down the sides here good. Make sure I got all my stuff here. So what you're gonna do next is you're gonna lay your spaghetti on top of this. And how you do that is you have to break the spaghetti in half. And while I'm talented at many things, I cannot break the spaghetti in half and hold this camera. So I'm gonna break the spaghetti in half and then I'll get you back. Okay, that's my pound of spaghetti that I've broken in half and literally just laid on top of the meat. Okay? Easy. I'm trying to make some healthier substitutions for my child, so I'm using the Barilla Protein Plus pasta. You can use whatever pasta you want. It's just regular spaghetti. I don't know, they might even consider that thin spaghetti. I don't know. Anyway, my pasta's laid down, so now I'm going to take my jar of sauce, my one jar, and I'm going to pour it right on top of all of this. Okay? And then I'm going to come over here to my fridge. I'm going to give me some water. I'm going to give about 3/4 of the way up of water. Because I'm using diced tomatoes too. If you were just going to use spaghetti sauce, which you can, you want to use a whole thing of water. I don't want to use the whole thing of water because I'm going to have quite a bit of liquid in my tomatoes already. So I'm going to pour that in. Okay? I just kind of just pour it around. And then I've got my 1 can of diced tomatoes that I'm also going to pour around. And I like to add, on top of my diced tomatoes, which are on the top, just a touch more of my Italian seasoning. Just a little bit, not a lot, just a touch. All right, the last thing I do is I push all of this around to make sure that I don't have any spaghetti sticking up outside of the liquid, okay? Make sure all the spaghetti is covered. And it is. Okay, the next thing you need to do is wipe around the edge of your pot, okay? I did have some splattering when I was browning my meat, so I just wipe around the edge of my pot. Make sure your ring is where it's supposed to be. Make sure that the ring is in that guard properly. I've done that too. Now I'm just going to put my lid on. I have the Ultra, so it seals automatically. But if you don't have the Ultra, you need to make sure at this point that your valve is set to sealing or airtight. Okay, and then I'm going to go up here to pressure cooker, also known as manual. I'm going to go to pressure cook, and I'm going to give it I'm going to give it 8 minutes on high and press start. That's it. We'll check back. All right, it's come to pressure. It took about 12 minutes to come to pressure before it started cooking. Remember, it cooks for 8 minutes. So when this is done, we'll release it. Okay, so it beeped. The point of this recipe is speed. So at this point, you can quick release it. It's been keeping warm for 1 minute because I'm slow to get to my kitchen. So I'm just gonna pop my little snorkel on here, keep my cabinets clean, and I'm gonna release it. But again, I'm releasing it because the point of this recipe is speed. You could let this sit for a while. It's not gonna hurt it to hang out for a few minutes if you were busy or doing something. It's not gonna burn. It's all juicy up there anyway, so, you know, your call. I'm being fast. So my pen is dropped. It's safe to open the lid. And it looks all kinds of funky sitting up here. I'm gonna pull this out of here because I find it easier to deal with outside of the pot.
Too hot?
It is too hot, bubbies, yes.
Too hot?
It's too hot right now, yes. So it just needs to be stirred up. Get all the contents mixed up. It smells like spaghetti. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge spaghetti fan. Never have been. But I'm also not a huge pizza fan. Oh, I know the horror everybody tells me. Anyway, I'm gonna get this mixed up real good. Okay, that's spaghetti. I obviously make a meatier spaghetti because that's the whole point of me making this is to get my kid to eat meat. She abhors. But anyway, it's really good. Looking back now, I probably had closer to 2 pounds of meat. You probably, to make unless you like a meatier spaghetti now, some people prefer this, but if you want a more traditional spaghetti throw together, I'd probably use a pound of beef. But anyway, it doesn't change the cooking time, obviously, if you want to double it. But this is spaghetti, and I'm going to put it in a little bowl so that my 3-year-old can be nourished and we don't have to fight about dinner. This spaghetti is pretty good. The one thing I really like about spaghetti in the pressure cooker is that the flavor really infuses into the noodles. Like, it just intensifies everything. I garnished mine with a little mozzarella that I melted and a little bit of Parmesan. My little girl has some melted fake mozzarella because we do not do dairy with her. But it's delicious, and she eats it, and it's filling, and if you like spaghetti, you'll love it. I'm kind of lukewarm about spaghetti, and I like it. So that doesn't sound like much praise, but it really is. Do you like spaghetti?
Yeah.
Is that good?